a lot of actors now are realizing, yo, the price of living here and the money I'm receiving for this booking ain't adding up. My rent is X, Y, and Z, and I only got this amount for this project. The residual was supposed to get me from point A to point B, being my next project, and that residual wasn't residual. I just got off the phone with my manager. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get this thing on a roll. Why am I wearing this pleather ass jacket? I don't know. I was feeling it. It was in a moment. I just felt like it's just going to do the trick. It's just, anyway, that's besides the point. Hi, welcome back. If you are new to this channel, welcome. Let me formally introduce myself. My name is Asantedeshon. I am an actor, creative, and artist. And I just wanted to go ahead and make this video, as you could tell by the title, on the truth of being an actor while in LA, at least right now. Let me just start off by saying I have been professionally acting since 2016. I have been playing opposite of amazing actors. I've been in films, I've been in television, I've been in theater. I haven't done Broadway yet. That is actually something that is on my list. I started as a theater kid on stage, projecting my voice. That has been truthfully the start of Asantedeshon and his pursuits of acting. But I would like to say I'm pretty qualified to talk about a few things as an actor while being in Los Angeles as it pertains to now. Okay, so first things first, you do not need to be in LA to be successful. Let me just go ahead and debunk that now. I moved out here because I had representation. I had a manager in Los Angeles and I had agents in Chicago. That's the only reason why I was split and torn between the two. And also, granted, it was slightly a different time. I would make flights back and forth from LA to Chicago, and that was expensive. And I'm talking $200, $300, $400 flights. And if this is last minute, if you an actor, you know that the turnaround time was not long enough for you to kind of like figure it out, save a couple of cash, etc., whatever. Even if you saved a couple of dollars, it still added up. It still was pricey. And my manager was having me come to Los Angeles. My agents was like, hey, could you come back to Chicago? It was a whole hot mess. And so I want to debunk that right now. You do not need to be in LA to do that. Why? Because you have agents where you are. Stick around in the video. There's one last bullet point that I'm going to talk to you about that is all encompassing as to why you do not need to be in Los Angeles to be a successful actor. And the truth about being an actor in LA. That's a myth. I'm going to debunk that. Boom. Let's get that out the way, right? Now, will I say, does you not being in Los Angeles possibly slow your progression? Maybe. It just depends on how hard you want to work for it, how hard you want to be in television, be in theater, theater is a different market. Theater is mainly for New York, maybe even Chicago even. But if I'm talking on camera work, it depends on how much you want to do that, how bad you want to do that, right? That would be your Los Angeles. Now it would be your Atlanta, and then a little bit of New York and Chicago. Chicago was a hybrid. It was Midwest, so it was kind of weird. If I was in like Milwaukee, I would have to travel to Chicago because they shoot a couple of things. Your Chicago Fire, which I've also been on, your Chicago Man, your Chicago PD, all of that, right? But you don't need to be in LA. I'm gonna debunk that right now. That's the truth about it. You don't need to be there. And a lot of actors now are coming to a realization of, I ain't gotta be here. I ain't gotta be here. Rent looking kind of crazy. Rent is in. It is an ungodly amount of money that you spend on just rent alone here in Los Angeles. It does not compare, no near compared to New York, but we getting there. If you search and you find, like right now, I have an amazing, beautiful place that I renovated and made it look like myself. Right? If I bought this place the way that it looks now, I would easily be spending over $2,500 for a studio. Okay. This black wall one here, this mounted stuff wasn't there. None of this stuff was there. Yeah, the truth is, a lot of actors now in Los Angeles start to realize we didn't got to be here. We could go elsewhere and actually do what we need to do. Which brings me to my next point. Getting an agent. You can get an agent quite literally anywhere. Now, will they have the access or the connections that your Los Angeles, agents may have? Possibly not, but they could still submit you. They could still try to get you in a room, see if they could get you to fly out to go ahead and be in person. But that brings me to my last point. Stick around. That brings me to my last point. But yeah, you could go ahead and get an agent anywhere. You can literally get an agent anywhere. A good agent could make it work in the market that you are in. Like I said, I started in Chicago, and I was blessed to have agents who believed in me. And even in moments I didn't even believe in myself. I don't know what the heck was going on. I didn't even know what SAG was. I didn't even know actors had a union that protected them. And so they educated me on that and was like, hey, listen, we're going to go ahead and submit you for these things. I booked, and yeah, they made it work. They made it work. It got me my first feature film, and it got me my very first co-star. So yeah, you don't need that. You don't need to be in Los Angeles to get representation. You don't need to be Los Angeles to be an actor. Okay. Third thing, self-submissions. That kind of goes hand in hand. If you are an actor, you know this. But if you're not an actor, this is going to be information for you to possibly know if you don't know. There are a plethora of websites to submit on, but there are only a handful that are actually legit. And I'm gonna give you 3, but literally only 2, right? So you have your Actors Access. If you're an actor, you know what that is. You have your casting networks, and then you have your casting frontier. I've seen people make and receive auditions through Backstage, but I don't really know too much about that. I've never used Backstage to that capacity. I just know that it could work. It's usually for open call that I've received, but the auditions that I'm referring to, the speaking roles that I'm speaking to, like I'm not talking background, I'm talking full front speaking, playing opposite principal roles. That is your Actors Access for theatrical mainly, and then for your commercials is usually casting networks and your casting frontiers. You can self-submit all day long. You may not necessarily have access to what your agency, because they see a different type of catalog, a different pool of what is being produced and what is filming and what their clients could audition for. The last thing, which I find truly encompass everything. In 2020, we all know what happened. Some of you guys use that as an opportunity to decompress and refocus, and thank God for what you have. And then some people have not necessarily had it as fortunate. But 2020 shook a lot of things up in the industry. Let me just gonna put it like that. And because of all that shake up, we haven't been able to go into the room the way that we used to back then, right? So everything is now done virtually. Everything is done virtually. Everything is done through Zoom or some type of virtual web situation conference thing. That's how they're doing it now. And you could do that in the comfort of your own home, your office, etc., where you are in your market, to Los Angeles or to whomever or wherever they are filming. And that's the truth of it. That is the truth of it. And I would say it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing for actors to be able to gain access, right? But I would also say, like, to that capacity and be able to do it in the comfort of their own home. But it's also kind of like, again, to my point of you not having to be in Los Angeles for it, it makes actors, I think, right now in this season, especially since the strike, right? We've now been striking, and residuals aren't residualing the way that they need to. A lot of actors now are realizing, the price of living here and the money I'm receiving for this booking ain't adding up. My rent is X, Y, and Z, and I only got this amount for this project. The residual was supposed to get me from point A to point B, being my next project, and that residual wasn't residual. I just got off the phone with my manager in SAG about a project that I recently did, expecting a residual, a beautiful residual, by the way. And turn to find out, that project has licensed itself, or the producers licensed it in a way to where I don't get residuals on that particular project, that particular booking, until the next 20 years. Let me just come a little closer. 20 years I will not receive a residual from that said project. 20. There's a lot of friends that I know who are successfully acting and only acting, and making a living out of doing just that. And there's a lot of people who I know who are series regulars on shows and televisions as we speak, on your television screen, back to back, receiving a beautiful check and are waiting tables. They only do it because they don't know the stability of what may happen or when they're going to go ahead and get their next check, if they're going to get a residual, etc. And so I think, honestly, the truth is, being in Los Angeles has woke a lot of people up about the realization of what is really taking place in this industry right now. A lot of production isn't being made the same in the amount that has been made. I don't even want to get into politics, but it's a lot going on. A lot of people aren't also filming in Los Angeles as much as they have been in the past, just because Los Angeles, there's actual statistics backing this up, has priced production out. Literally has priced the producers and the directors and the filmmakers and your next Ava DuVernays and your next Shonda Rhimes out of Los Angeles. And so what does that mean? That means a lot of projects aren't really done locally as much anymore. Not to say that it can't happen again, or we're not going to lean back into that. But right now, we're in a very weird space, a very weird time in society where, these are things that are affecting the entertainment business. I, for one, am truly blessed to say that although Los Angeles is very expensive, and I know what you're asking, then why stay here? There's a few reasons. I have a whole team here. I could technically go back to Chicago, but right now what I'm doing is a few things that I am excited and in the works of doing. There's a few projects that I am currently also filming while being here in Los Angeles, and there are a few things that I truly feel like I haven't got the chance to do. This is by no mean of me complaining of living in Los Angeles. No way, shape, or form hating on LA. But I will say, if you came here to LA to pursue your artistry and be an actor, there are a plethora of ways to do it without having to break the bank, without having to lose sleep, and without having to, fly back and forth like I have. But I also will say, if I had not moved to Los Angeles, I don't think I would have booked nearly half the projects I've booked since being here, or even the team that I have now. So it's it's there's a lot of pros and cons to it. It really depends on you. It depends on your work ethic. It depends on what you're trying to do. It depends on how willing you are willing to work for your dreams and work for what it is that you envision yourself being. Also, another thing, I have an audio series. Speaking of projects, I've created work for myself, right? I have an audio series. It's a show specifically for the ears, especially for the ears. It's, think of your favorite show just without visual. It's not to be confused with a podcast, and not to be confused with a what's that thing called? An audiobook. It's not to be confused with that. You can hear it in real time, in first person, with special effects, and it's amazing. It's on Apple and Spotify right now. Oh my god, I'm so excited for it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you enjoy the video, and I hope you have a beautiful, blessed day. I hope you have an amazing day, and I can't wait to see you guys next week or next video or whenever I put this out. Probably next week, because what I'm thinking about doing is 2 episodes a week, and just like sit down, chat, talking about life, talking about just commentary, entertainment, and artistry and dreams and stuff. All right, I'm gone. Thank you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.